Sam, where's the galaxy, bro? I'll answer like 10 questions if you send a galaxy. You gotta send me a galaxy or something.
Imagine building a loyal fan base of millions, only to throw it all away for short-term TikTok fame. That's exactly what hubslife did, and the internet didn't forgive him. In this deep dive, we'll uncover the exact moment his audience turned against him, the toxic cycle of chasing clout, and why his desperate attempts to stay relevant ultimately backfired. Was his downfall inevitable, or could he have saved his career? Let's break it down. Hubslife wasn't always the internet's cautionary tale. He started like so many creators, posting unfiltered, relatable content that felt like hanging out with a friend. His early videos had a raw authenticity that resonated. No flashy editing, no forced trends, just a guy making people laugh with his natural humor and everyday observations. Fans connected with that realness, and his following grew organically. Within a year, he went from posting in his bedroom to landing brand deals, selling merch, and building a tight-knit community that genuinely cared about his content. But success came with pressure. As his audience expanded, so did the expectation to constantly deliver viral moments. The cracks started showing when he shifted from original sketches to reaction content. What began as occasional commentary on trending videos slowly took over his channel. Fans noticed the drop in effort. Where his early work felt thoughtful, his reactions came across as low-effort filler. The comment section filled with gentle criticism. Bring back the old hubslife, or this feels lazy compared to your other stuff. Instead of listening, he dismissed the feedback, insisting reaction videos were just another side of his content. The real turning point came with a single video. It was meant to be a joke, a skit poking fun at a sensitive topic, but it landed horribly. Fans called it tone-deaf, and the backlash was immediate. What made it worse was his response. Rather than apologizing, he doubled down, arguing that people were too sensitive and couldn't take a joke. That defensiveness alienated even his most loyal supporters. The video's like-to-dislike ratio tanked, and for the first time, his comment section wasn't filled with praise but with disappointment. This was the first domino. Hubslife's refusal to acknowledge the misstep signaled a bigger problem. He was prioritizing virality over his audience's trust. The reaction content had already diluted his brand, but this moment exposed a deeper disconnect. Fans who had stuck with him through the lazy phases now questioned whether he even cared about their opinions. The fallout was swift, engagement dropped, and some longtime followers quietly unfollowed. Yet the real damage wasn't just the lost viewers, it was the shift in his mindset. Instead of course-correcting, hubslife saw the controversy as proof that drama got attention. He started leaning into it, testing the limits of what he could get away with. The question wasn't whether he'd recover from this, it was how much further he'd push before the next backlash hit. And as we'll see, that next backlash wouldn't just cost him fans, it would cost him his career. The skit itself was bad, but hubslife's response to the backlash made everything worse. When fans called out his tone-deaf video, mocking a serious topic, he didn't just ignore their concerns. He mocked them right back. His comment section filled with criticism, but instead of addressing it, he fired back with dismissive replies like, "Why you crying, little bud?" and simply, "Cry." These weren't offhand remarks either. He doubled down in follow-up posts, claiming his audience was too sensitive and couldn't take a joke. What might have been a temporary controversy became a full-blown crisis because of how he handled it. His engagement metrics told the story. Likes dropped, dislikes soared, and longtime fans started publicly announcing they were done with his content. But hubslife didn't see this as a wake-up call. Instead, he began blocking critics en masse, surrounding himself with only the fans who still blindly supported him. This created an echo chamber where no one challenged him, reinforcing his belief that the backlash was just haters being haters. The problem was those haters had been his most loyal followers weeks earlier. Now they were being treated like enemies for daring to criticize him. Things escalated when he took to live streams to air his frustrations. These weren't thoughtful discussions. They were unfiltered rants, where he lashed out at former fans, mocking their complaints and dismissing valid concerns as fake outrage. The more backlash he received, the more defiant he became. Brands noticed. Sponsors who had partnered with him for his relatable image quietly distanced themselves, but hubslife didn't care. He was convinced TikTok fame would replace what he was losing, telling himself viral moments mattered more than audience trust. The shift in his content became impossible to ignore. His videos moved further away from the relatable, authentic style that built his fan base, leaning instead into exaggerated reactions and drama baiting. Fans who had stuck around after the initial controversy now felt alienated by this new version of hubslife, someone who seemed more interested in clout than connection. Comments like, "This doesn't even feel like you anymore," piled up, but he either didn't see them or chose not to acknowledge them. By this point, the damage was irreversible. The audience exodus wasn't just a few critics leaving. It was a mass departure of the people who had supported him from from the beginning. His refusal to listen had torched his reputation, and the sponsors who remained started getting nervous. But instead of reflecting, hubslife pushed forward, convinced his next move would win people back. He didn't realize the bridge was already burned. Worse, his next step wouldn't just disappoint fans, it would turn them against him permanently. With his core audience gone, hubslife made a hard pivot toward TikTok trends, sacrificing whatever authenticity he had left. He started collaborating with controversial figures known for stirring up drama, believing any attention, positive or negative, would keep him relevant. His content transformed into a caricature of itself, exaggerated reactions, painfully staged pranks, and desperate attempts to hijack whatever trend was circulating that week. The jokes felt forced, the energy was artificial, and longtime fans could see right through it. Slowly, his audience shifted. The loyal followers who appreciated his original humor were replaced by a new crowd that lived for controversy. These viewers didn't care about authenticity, they just wanted spectacle. hubslife fed into that, leaning harder into shock value. The engagement numbers briefly rewarded him, giving him just enough validation to convince himself he was on the right track. But the metrics were deceptive. While TikTok's algorithm temporarily boosted his videos, the comment sections told a different story. Replies like "bro fell off" and "this is so cringe" piled up, but he either dismissed them or blocked the critics outright. Then came the scandals. Leaked DMs showed him strategizing with other creators about how to manufacture drama for views. Accusations of plagiarism surfaced when fans noticed he recycled jokes from smaller creators without credit. Instead of addressing any of it, he poured gasoline on the fire. He responded to criticism with more controversy, hopping on live streams to mock accusations and baiting his detractors into arguments. The cycle became predictable. Post something inflammatory, watch the backlash roll in, then turn that backlash into his next wave of content. For a moment, it worked. The drama kept his name circulating, and the engagement spikes gave him false hope. But TikTok fame is fleeting, and once the algorithm moved on, hubslife had nothing left to fall back on. Without his original fan base, he had no safety net, just a fickle audience that vanished as soon as the next big thing grabbed their attention. Sponsors who had stuck around through earlier controversies finally cut ties, realizing his reputation was toxic. By this point, he was trapped. Every attempt to course correct felt disingenuous, and every new video seemed to dig him deeper into irrelevance. The leaked DMs and plagiarism claims cemented his image as a clout chaser, erasing whatever goodwill lingered from his early days. What began as a calculated shift in content ended up as a downward spiral with no exit. hubslife had burned too many bridges, and the internet doesn't forget. The worst part? He still didn't seem to understand why. Even as his engagement dwindled and his reputation crumbled, he treated criticism like jealousy rather than proof of his own mistakes. The TikTok hype had evaporated, leaving him with nothing but a hollow persona and a feed littered with failed attempts at virality. He was no longer a creator people rooted for, just another cautionary tale in an endless cycle of online flameouts. But the final nail in the coffin wouldn't come from an algorithm change or dwindling views. It would come from someone who knew him better than anyone else. hubslife's last shot at salvaging his career came in the form of an apology video, but it backfired horribly. The video was littered with qualifiers, phrases like "if I offended anyone" and "maybe I went too far," which fans recognized as deflection rather than accountability. He spent more time explaining his intentions than acknowledging the harm, framing the backlash as a misunderstanding rather than his own miscalculation. The comment section erupted with critiques calling it a non-apology, and the dislike ratio skyrocketed, burying any chance of damage control. What should have been a moment of humility only deepened the divide. Days later, a former collaborator went live with a tell-all stream, exposing hubslife's behind-the-scenes behavior. They revealed how he'd strategized to exploit drama for clicks, mocking his own audience in private messages while pandering to them publicly. Screenshots showed him dismissing fan concerns as easy engagement and bragging about squeezing controversy for content. The stream went viral, and suddenly, the wider internet took notice. Memes circulated, news outlets like Daily Dot picked up the story, and even TikTok's algorithm seemed to sidelong him overnight. The platform's once favorable push of his content stalled, burying his posts in favor of creators with cleaner reputations. Brands that had stayed quiet during earlier scandals now made public statements cutting ties. Sponsorship announcements turned into press releases about re-evaluating partnerships, and his merch sales cratered. He tried rebranding, posting softer content, nostalgic throwbacks, even collabs with wholesome creators, but the internet's memory is long. Each attempt was met with skepticism or outright mockery. Comments like "too late, bro," and "who's still watching this guy?" dominated his posts. The harder he pushed, the more desperate he looked. Now, hubslife exists in a weird limbo. His follower count is a fraction of what it was, and his engagement is abysmal. Single-digit likes on posts that once would have gotten thousands. The algorithm ignores him, his former fans have moved on, and the occasional viral hate comments are the only reminders of his earlier relevance. He still posts, of course, but the content feels hollow. Reaction videos with forced laughter, half-hearted trend attempts, and the occasional vague tweet about learning from mistakes that rings insincere. The lesson isn't just that he messed up. It's that every recovery attempt failed because he never truly addressed the core issue. He treated his audience like a problem to manipulate rather than a community to respect. The apology video's failure proved fans weren't just angry, they were done. The tell-all stream confirmed their suspicions, and the backlash didn't just kill his career. It made him a case study in how not to handle internet fame. Hubslife's downfall wasn't an accident. It was the inevitable result of trading trust for clout, then refusing to admit the cost. Hubslife's story isn't just another internet flameout. It's a step-by-step guide to destroying a career. Every bad decision stacked on the last, turning what could have been salvageable into an inevitable crash. He didn't just lose fans, he systematically pushed them away, trading long-term trust for short-term spikes in engagement. And the worst part? Other creators watched it happen in real time, taking notes on what not to do. The core issue wasn't the pivot to full-time influencing, it was the hypocrisy. Hubslife built his audience by championing the simplicity of a 9-to-5 life, then abandoned it the second bigger opportunities arose. Fans who related to his normal guy persona felt duped. His vague, defensive responses to criticism only made it worse, reinforcing the idea that he no longer cared about the people who supported him early on. As one critic put it, he stopped being relatable the moment he started acting like he was above the lifestyle he preached. What's striking is how preventable it all was. Smaller creators face backlash all the time and recover by listening to their audience. Hubslife did the opposite. Every misstep was met with doubling down, blocking critics, or mocking legitimate concerns. He treated his community like stepping stones, not partners. Brands noticed, sponsors vanished. The metrics that once justified his choices started working against him, leaving him stranded without a safety net. Now, his name pops up in conversations about wasted potential. Former fans have moved on to creators who respect their intelligence, while Hubslife's remaining audience is a ghost town of low engagement and half-hearted support. His content, once rooted in authenticity, has devolved into desperate attempts to mimic trends he doesn't understand. The algorithm ignores him, and the occasional viral hate comment is the only reminder of his past relevance. The lesson here isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about how you handle them. Creators who survive scandals do so by admitting fault and adjusting course. Hubslife never did. He blamed the audience, the platform, even the drama itself, never realizing that the common denominator was his own choices. His downfall wasn't just deserved, it was textbook, a perfect storm of ego, poor judgment, and refusing to learn. So where does that leave him? Still posting, still hoping for a comeback that'll never come. The internet doesn't forget, and Hubslife's legacy is now a cautionary tale, proof that clout can't replace integrity. His story begs the question, when you're chasing virality, what are you willing to sacrifice? And more importantly, is it ever worth it? Hubslife's downfall proves one thing: viral fame means nothing without loyalty. He had built trust, then burned it chasing trends, and that's a mistake creators can't come back from. His story should make anyone think twice before trading authenticity for quick engagement. So let's hear from you. If you could quit your job to be an influencer, would you? And more importantly, what would you do differently to avoid becoming another Hubslife? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like and subscribe. More deep dives into internet drama are coming soon.